And
Okay.
and a funny behind the scenes story actually. Uh, the concept, I had an idea for it a long time ago, and it was basically like, for anybody who has ever used a G5 C-Max limb driven aero rest, they had a device on the front where you could push a button and then the arm would come up so you could support your aero. But it had a lot of failures. It had a lot of problems, and so they dumped it and they don't sell it anymore. But my thought process was taking that same mechanism, but putting it up on the limb. So now again, it's an accessory, and we're not having to put that complicated mechanism in the rest. But the concept of adding that weight to your limb and trying to make that all function was just a little bit too overwhelming to try to figure out. So our current owner was like, well, what if we did this? And he went on Amazon and he bought a shock, like a little mini shock for an RC car.
Mm-hmm.
On Amazon. It shipped. We kind of played around with it. We took it apart. He like reversed the spring inside the mechanism and figured out a way to make it function the way that we wanted to. And so that was how the float concept was born. Originally, it was basically just a little RC car shock that was bought off of Amazon.
Okay. Go into more detail about what the float actually is and how it works.
So essentially, when it comes to limb driven, basically for the folks that don't know, you have your activation cord goes to the limb. And so when you draw the bow, the limb flexes, and there's a spring in the aero rest that pulls your aero into the up position when you start to draw. And so this device is it's basically it's like a cylindrical device that has like a little piston inside. There's a spring inside of the device that when you push the button, it's light enough where the spring inside the rest will like supersede its strength and will allow the blade to come up and lift your aero. When you draw back and your limb starts to flex, the spring inside the device is strong enough to basically pull up the slack of the activation cord itself. And so that piston will pull inside the device, and then it will engage into a little sear and lock. So now when you shoot, the blade will come down. So it's very difficult to explain, but the video, we've got several videos out there that show how it functions.
So it basically just absorbs the tension to keep the limb up at all times, even during full draw.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now that I know how that works, what you talked a lot about, I want to talk about the aero rest market for just a second, and not necessarily just the market, but because the way that you talk about a fixed upright position, and you've created this float to somewhat answer the question to the consumer who wants a locked upright position rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys don't have a locked upright like this, but you gave me an answer to why it's not a good thing, or like what your guys' point of view is on why locked upright may have potential increase in failure rate or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you go and start to talk to like mom and pop shops or dealers or the big box stores that carry your products, whatever the case is, do they even care what you have to say about the technology, or are they just like, what are your margins?